Welcome back to Eastside Elevated. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce Jeff Tucker, our new principal economist with Windermere Real Estate. Today, we're going to talk about the real estate market trends, get some insights from Jeff as he's the professional in the field, and get some of his predictions on what we can expect in the future. Jeff, welcome to Eastside Elevated. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about what drew you to Windermere and talk about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I came from 5.5 years at Zillow on their economic research team. That was actually my first job out of grad school in economics here at UW. And what has always fascinated me in economics is actually the housing market. So I studied urban economics. I've been fascinated by the question of why have we underbuilt homes in this country really for the last 15 years, really since the Great Recession. And this chance at Windermere is a chance for me to take my interest in the housing market from like the national 30,000 foot view down to the local and regional view. Zoom in on Seattle, Washington, the greater Windermere footprint. I live right here in West Seattle with my wife and 2 kids, and we actually bought our house with a Windermere agent. And so I knew right away that Windermere is synonymous with excellence in real estate locally. And they're also the only real estate brokerage that actually has an in-house economist in a role like this. So for me, it was kind of that perfect combination of the local market interest with my fascination with the housing market as a whole.
So with all that breadth of knowledge and interest that you have in the economics, how do you put all that together to help brokers like myself and other agents with Windermere as well?
Yeah, so for me, where it often starts is those conversations that I know brokers are having with a listing client, with a potential buyer, and the questions that I know that they're getting asked, right? Is this the right time for me to buy? Should I wait? Is this the perfect time for me to sell? How should I set that list price? What time of the year should I be selling? So those are all questions where I think the data actually has a lot to offer. But I think a lot of people, when they just go and tune into the news, it's actually kind of paralyzing. They hear all these conflicting stories. They may hear there's more inventory. They may hear the Fed's about to do something. And so what I'm trying to do is distill some of that down, cut out some of the noise and sort of say, here's what actually matters, okay? You know, as a buyer, you are going to see the most options hitting the market every week in the spring, but you're gonna face the most competition. That is, especially locally, that's a ferociously competitive time to be buying a home. Well, as a seller, that makes it a great time to be selling a home. And then vice versa, when we look around, say the late summer, the early autumn time of year in the market, this can be sort of a sneaky good time for buyers. They can go out there, they're not getting rushed quite as much or facing as many multiple offer situations. So, you know, for me, it's really about putting myself in the shoes of a buyer or a seller and what exactly is the information that they really want to hear from their broker so that they know that they've got a professional who knows what they're doing and who can guide them through this kind of daunting process.
I mean, personally, I find that these stats become super monumental when I'm in a listing appointment or I'm trying to set a list price with a client. So I always recommend brokers who ask me for advice, look at the statistics. You know, there's ways to be able to predict and see trends. So the stats, I think, are really, really important for us as brokers to be able to learn the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to think of, for instance, inventory is my single most important metric to track, actually. I kind of think of it as like the barometer of the housing market, the same way, this might be kind of dating myself, but the same way that maybe a couple hundred years ago, the only way you could really predict the weather was falling barometer meant things were kind of going to get stormy ahead, and rising barometer meant, okay, kind of smooth sailing. Well, for inventory, it's also this general kind of prediction metric. So when you have high inventory, that's the pendulum swinging in buyers' favor. That means buyers have more options to choose from. It means they're bumping into fewer competing offers on the market at any point in time. So that's kind of cooling things down, settling the market down. But when inventory is super low, when it's plummeting like it was back in 2021, that's when things are really heating up and getting competitive. The pendulum is shifting in sellers' favor. They know that they're, especially in a market like this, when inventory is low and falling, they're gonna get multiple offers, it's gonna sell quickly. So I think what's really interesting is to try to track those turning points as well, those sort of inflection points. And frankly, I think we're at a bit of one right now. At the end of, kind of the tail end of summer into fall, we were seeing inventory rise all year, really, in year-over-year terms. That meant more of an advantage for buyers, really, in this market. They were seeing more options to choose from, and now starting to look ahead. So I know you wanted to know some of my predictions, and so this is where I'm zooming in on inventory. It looks like in the last few months, sort of at the tail end of summer, now that interest rates have started to come down, I'm seeing buyers start to come off the sideline a bit. They're starting to hear, okay, mortgage rates are starting to work in my favor. It's no longer the highest in a generation. Maybe I should go ahead and pull the trigger on buying a home. So as buyers are starting to come back into the market, we're no longer seeing that inventory buildup. It's not like a runaway glut of listings out there. So when I'm talking to interested buyers right now, I'm telling them, look, the market was swinging in your favor. So, if you've been waiting, that's some good news for you. You got that kind of inventory buildup. It's not going to go on forever though. It's not going to keep building more and more in your favor. And you're not the only person who can see that mortgage rates have started to drop.
To be honest with you, in my 20-year career, I've never had a harder time pricing real estate than I do today, just because there's so much fluctuation from the market 6 months ago, 3 months ago. It's very price point sensitive, not just price sensitive, but also price point specific. There's certain price points that tend to move very much quicker than others. People ask me in my listing appointment, where are you going to price it at? I'll give them a $100,000, maybe even $200,000 range in my listing appointment. That might be 2 or 3 months before I'm actually listing the house. And then all the way up to that, it's like, Max, what are you going to price it at? I don't know. Wait until I'm literally the day before I'm listing. That's when I'll figure out the price. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. You're such a great addition to the team. We're very happy to have you with Windermere. And if you're interested in staying up to date with the Windermere statistics in your local area, check the link in the blog. And if you're thinking about selling or buying a home in this unique market, reach out to me so we can better strategize the perfect outcome for you.